What's up, guys? It's the Insane Gang Freak here. How are you doing? Hope you're doing well. Now it's time for another video. Sega's been announcing some things in the last 24 hours, including more Olympic Games. I guess we're going to keep doing those. Sega Genesis Mini, which at this point I was surprised they didn't do it sooner. And then on top of everything else, a Sakura Wars game. Now, I'm happy but confused and concerned for a variety of reasons. So, for those who don't know, because most of you won't know, because Sakura Wars is not a series that is overly popular in the States because we didn't get the majority of the games. Sakura Wars has been around since 1996. And if you Americans or even Europeans, from what I understand, are even aware of these games, it's only because we got one of the games, but the way you were probably introduced to the franchise was probably through the anime adaptation, because dubs were a thing. And they decided to dub the anime and bring it over here, but they never actually did the games. A lot of you probably didn't even realize that Sakura Wars is originally a game, and the anime is based off the game versus the other way around. Because like I said, you were probably introduced to the anime first, because that's what we got. Sakura Wars is what I think the modern equivalent to it is either games like the modern Fire Emblem games or probably Valkyria Chronicles, partially because the people who used to work on Sakura Wars ended up moving into a new studio, the one that created Valkyria Chronicles. So those are the two closest games. It's essentially a cross between like an RPG and a dating sim. Like, and I don't mean like how Fire Emblem had, like Fates would be the closest correlation with that gameplay style, and even Fates, it's like a 30-70 thing. Like 30% of the game is dedicated to like dating sim, petting your wife who's bullshit, and 70% was dedicated to gameplay. That was Fire Emblem Fates. From what I saw in Sakura Wars and the gameplay I have seen of it, Sakura Wars, it's like split down the middle. Like half of it's dating sim and the other half is RPG, or strategy RPG is what I should say. That is not the most mass appeal genres. I mean, I like both of those genres, although I don't have nearly as much experience in dating sims because I don't really play dating sims. If a game has dating sim elements and I play it, that's one thing, but I don't go out of my way just to play dating sims. Back then it was more like a visual novel style. So I'm hoping the game kind of modernized itself. But like I said, these games originally came out on the Sega Saturn, and then they also came out on the Dreamcast, and the fifth game, which was the last mainline game, was the only game to come out on like a non-Sega console, which was the PlayStation 2 and Wii. And those came out so late, it never got any push because, like I said, the earlier games never got put out in America or Europe. The one thing that stuck out to me was the character designer. And if you're an anime fan, and you've been one for at least the last 10 years or so, you will recognize his name very well. tdthekid. They got Bleach's creator to do character designs for the new Sakura Wars game. This shit just kind of blows my mind. But I'm glad to see you're still doing work, Kubo. Because, no bullshit, Kubo has great art design, if nothing else. You know, back when he did full backgrounds and shit. I'm talking a lot of trash. Listen, Bleach, I don't like Bleach anymore, but I can openly admit Bleach had very interesting character design and had really good world building in the earlier seasons, or earlier arcs in the manga. It just kind of dropped off a cliff, and I knew there was some stuff going on with Shonen Jump and some drama, so it's not all his fault. So I'm glad to see Kubo still getting work, and he's still putting out, we get to see his art in some way, shape, or form. And you can definitely tell it's Kubo. I could have told it was Kubo just from the male character's design. His face, Kubo, the way Kubo draws faces, it screamed Ichigo to me. Or the reason why I want to talk about this is that I haven't played Sakura Wars, but it's one of those franchises I've been kind of interested in. Ironically enough, one of the games I first saw the character designs in was Project Cross Zone that came out on the 3DS. Part of me that's excited is that, for those who are curious, the last time they put out a new game for Sakura Wars was back in 2005. That was the fifth one, and that was the only time we got that fucking game. That was the only game that got localized. Although we didn't get that game for a while, if you're curious. That game came out originally on the PlayStation 2 and then was later ported to the Wii. And it came out in the States and in Europe in 2010. Some of you might not understand what the real problem with that is. In 2010, to come out on the Wii and PlayStation 2, the PlayStation 2 being a generation behind the Wii, mind you, during the PS3, Wii, 360 generation, it was already old. And on the Wii version, the Wii coming out in 2010, well, the Wii U came out 2 years later. So this was already the end of the Wii's, towards the end of the Wii's life cycle. Hell, even Nintendo weren't putting out that many games for the Wii from themselves, let alone this niche-ass Japanese game that had been exclusive to Japan all until 2010 when this game came out. Didn't sell well. Didn't do well. For obvious reasons. Also, from what I heard, NIS is the ones who put it out in the States. From what I've heard, that development cycle was a bitch, and I've also heard from people saying the Wii version is buggy and glitchy as shit, probably due to a very dragged out and hellish development cycle of localizing the game and getting voice actors for the dialogue and all that other fun stuff. So it's been a fucking experience, but I'm happy to say that it seems like Sega's starting to slowly learn the lesson of you have other IPs. People are interested in those IPs. Use those IPs. But I'm concerned because supposedly this game is coming out in 2019 and in 2020, I believe, for the States. And there's already been a bunch of rumors this year, if not late last year, about PlayStation 5. So is this going to be another fucking game that comes out at the end of a console generation when people are already starting to move on to another console? Because I would like this to do well. Weird that this is the series they decide to bring back and push, but at the same time, anime waifu culture is at an all-time high, so it totally would work now, the dating sim elements and strategy, considering the push of games like Persona and Fire Emblem and Valkyria Chronicles. Stray games ain't going nowhere, so, you know, this is not a bad choice or idea to go with. I'm just concerned because of the timing and if the gameplay is going to get modernized at all, or the style of it, because I would hate, although the game seems to be pretty consistent to the older games just in what we were seeing in the trailer, which is that you got like a guy surrounded by a bunch of girls of varying physical builds, and some of them look like they're from different nationalities, and then you got mech suits fighting monsters, just like the old games. That's literally how the old games were. You had like this group of soldiers, it was more of a group of like demon fighters, but it wasn't like based in mythology. It was more based around, because the group usually posed as something else. It was like a day versus night thing. So like in the day they posed as like, I think the first one was like a theater, and then at night they were like these fucking workers towards this like this secret group that spent their time beating up demons and shit. I think that's the same. I'd be curious if the gimmick is still there. Like by the day they're doing like normal everyday jobs, but at night they're out there they're like protectors of the town and fighting demons. I just want Sega to realize that like it's cool to keep pushing these other franchises, and I think them doing stuff like this and Valkyria Chronicles and Yakuza, that's great because these are the IPs you need to show off. Like, listen, when you have a lull with Sonic, which let's be real, they've been in a lull with Sonic for a few years, having some of these niche franchises come out like Yakuza and I guess now Sakura Wars is a good idea to have, and obviously you're relying on Atlus a lot to put out things like Catherine Full Body and Persona 5 and supposedly Persona 5 Royal, which I guess is coming out at some point. This is a good move to make. I just don't want them, and I know a lot of people are excited, but the problem I have is that like this is a very niche game and you're putting this out towards the end of a generation. I don't know how many people are going to see it and give it the attention it deserves, because from what I understand from the fanbase, people love these games. People love the shit out of Sakura Wars. So I would like to see these games get properly recognized and make Sega the money it deserves to make. I mean, granted, if it's a good game, that's the whole point. But you get the point of, I'm going under the assumption that it already is a good game. I want these games to do well, because then Sega will learn to stop doing that. Maybe we'll get other franchises like Knights and Crazy Taxi and shit. Because you got the fucking IP, do some of the IPs. Oh, it's weird for Sega to me to have any type of game that involves cars and you haven't put it out yet. Or maybe another Jet Set Radio. And I think them experimenting over these last few years, I'm perfectly cool with. Just, market the game and give the West a chance, because I think that was one of the things that really hurt the older games. The older games I know did well in Japan, but none of them came out except for the fifth one. And the fifth one I barely count because marketing was bad, it had no word of mouth, and it was put out way later than its original PlayStation 2 came out in Japan. The Japanese version was out years before the localization, which, we've gotten better over time about localizing games. But the point I'm making is, maintain that. I think that's the reason why in 2019 is the Japanese version's coming out, and then I think in 2020 the Western version's coming out. Just give it a proper push, give it a proper shot in the States, and see if we like it, because you'd be surprised how many of these games will do well enough. Even though the Valkyria Chronicles games haven't been selling what I consider insanely well by modern gaming standards, from what the developers were saying, they sell enough to justify making a sequel. Well then fuck it, bring them out, god damn it. Try to also cater to the Western audience, although I'm pretty sure this game's gonna get shut down just because there was a character with bouncing tits in it. Yeah, I saw the Mortal Kombat news. I'm gonna talk about that shit too. And right now the other thing that's probably bothering me is that it only has a PS4 release currently announced. That's kind of dumb. At the very least, it should have been on PC. I would have said PS4, PC, and Switch to give it a fair shot. Putting it only on PS4, especially if the PS4 is about to switch console generations, I don't know. I think it should have been a multi-console game, just like Valkyria Chronicles. But hey, that's up to them. And the PS4, hell, those animations, those are PS4 animations, yo. Oh my goodness. But anyways, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. This will probably be the first one I try because, like I said, you can't get your hands on the other games. Or maybe port the other games. That might be something to do. Localize them, finally, in the States instead of people having to rely on fan translations. Just saying. If this does well, then we might get it anyway. But please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching. This has been the Insane Game Freak. Life's a game, play to win, and I will catch you guys later. Peace off.